Hi, it's Alistair at Electric Scotland. This is me doing my introduction to my weekly newsletter for September 21st, 2018. It's been a really busy week. I managed to get an upgrade done to the postcard program, but it's taken most of the week to really get it up to date and get all the cards back up and all the other stuff, and I'll probably still be doing some tweaks in the week ahead, but on the whole everything's now working great. So now when you click the postcard program, it'll now come up and work, and you can explore all the various options. As I say, there's a whole pile of pictures up there, there's music and poetry and quotes and things, and you can pick different smileys and all kinds of things. So I hope you'll give it a go. And I say, the one thing that when it used to work, you found that you could send a postcard out immediately, but if you scheduled it for the next day or any other time, it wouldn't go out. But I've now tested that and it does work. So I think we're 100% okay now on the postcard program. So please feel free to explore it and see what you think. And of course, if you find anything's not working, do let me know. The other bit of good news is that I was able to find an update of the arcade program, and despite the fact that I've never actually had to install it before, I had a go and it's actually worked. I'm totally gobsmacked and amazed and dead chuffed that I actually got it to work, but after doing all the background work, I clicked on arcade and yay, it loaded. I thought, marvellous, I'm a genius, Anyway, I played a game and it also kept my high scores, so it does look like everything's working again. And all the games that were up before are still up. So I hope you'll enjoy playing the arcade out of our community. And I will actually put a link within our games page to the arcade now it's working. So look for that a wee bit later on today to get that link up there. Okay, so on to the, I should just mention, I think we're almost getting the mailing list back again. It's now saving the new mailing list I put each week, which it wasn't doing before, but it's still not sending out emails. So I've got the For Hosting company to look at that for me, and hopefully we might get it working in a few days' time, and if so, I'll get out the newsletter, albeit being late. But do remember, you can go to our community and click on the weekly newsletter forum, and you'll get our weekly newsletter there. And if you go to our newsletters link on our main menu on Electric Scotland, again, you'll see the PDF version of the newsletter there. So they're all available, and I am putting them up. Okay, so on to the stories I chose for you this week. And I might just add that if you go to our index page and scroll down a little bit, you'll see that the Scott news feed, there's now a link to it rather than displaying on the index page. There's now a specific link. If you go there, you'll always see the full news that I've picked for you during the week. I usually run it up to 2 weeks. So when I come to do the second week, which is really from today onwards, I automatically delete all of the previous week's news. And then I start to do this new week's news. So basically, it's always up to 2 weeks. And obviously any news at the top is the newer news stories. But I know some of you don't come every day. Some of you might not come for a couple of weeks. So that's why there's always up to 2 weeks worth of news at the most, and 1 week if you're coming early. But as I say, I put a lot more stories in the news feed than I do within the wee scenario that I put up here in the newsletter. Okay, so anyway, having said that, the first story I've got for you is Clan Buchanan appoints its first chief since 1681. One of Scotland's largest and most ancient clans has appointed its first clan chief in 337 years. Amazing story, that. So if any of you are Buchanans, you should read that. Then, taking Highland Games to Kyrgyzstan. Highland Games athletes in pipes and drums from 19th Royal Artillery, that's the Scottish Gunners, have taken part in the World Nomad Games in Kyrgyzstan. So that was a really interesting story for you there. Then a more serious one, violent crime in Scotland is 11 times higher than official reports. It says the new head of an internationally recognised police unit credited with helping Glasgow shed its image as the murder capital of Western Europe has warned violent crime continues to go unreported. That's a pretty serious accusation, that, so you might want to read that. And then US-UK Free Trade Agreement. I managed to get a copy of the full report. This isn't an official agreement, but there's a lot of really influential people that have got together and they've worked out what they would like to see in a free trade agreement, and that's why I thought the full report would be useful. Because of those that are interested, it's all in there. Iceland can teach us important lessons about Brexit. It says Iceland shows how nations can prosper outside the EU. And again, I think that's a great story. And then 30 years after Bruges, Margaret Thatcher is still right about Europe. It says the Bruges speech is the start of a tragic tale of why the EU has lost one of its most important members. And then the next story is a Commons with no majority, so no radical conservative measures, ? You've forgotten about EVEL. It says in England the Conservatives have 296 MPs out of 533, a majority of nearly 60 over all the other parties, who have 237 combined. So, interesting story that. UK shoppers keep on spending as August retail sales smash forecasts. And this is the final story I've got for you this week. It says British shoppers kept up their strong summer spending spree in August and showed no sign that the approach of Brexit is making them cautious. Official data shows on Thursday, which is today. Then under Electric Canadian, I've got the 3 books we've been working on for some time. Canada and its Provinces, I've got volume 14 up. The Atlantic Provinces Part 2. The Engineering Journal is up for 1954. And I got a mining review up for 1907. And I've given you a list of what you can expect to see in the mining review, because I haven't done that for a wee while. Includes topics on editorial comment, suggestions from the Geological Survey for a cobalt coinage, the Geological Survey, the metric system, the Canadian Arctic, a geological examination of mines, the occurrence of platinum, 8 prospecting with churn drills, the production of platinum, a story of endeavour, seeing cobalt camp ores, the Canadian Rockies, cobalt shipments during December, the Way of the North, the Tribeway metals, is matter electricity, what is meant by artesian, copper statistics, the Cobalt District, Hastings in BC, Exploration Syndicate Limited, German consumption of copper, the mining share market, cobalt comparisons and cobalt companies, book reviews, personals, mining notes, coal notes, the mining and industrial share market, industrial notes, mining incorporations, catalogues and calendars, etc. Then on to the other books. I've got History of the Settlement of Upper Canada, with special reference to the Bay of Quinte. It's by William Caniff, published in 1869. And then I've got Journal of a Voyage for the Discovery of a Northwest Passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific, performed in the years 1819 to 20 in His Majesty's ships Hecla and Gripper, under the orders of William Edward Parry, and commander of the expedition, with an appendix containing the scientific and other observations, published in 1821. Another one is The Great Northwest and the Great Lake Region of North America by Paul Fountain. That was in 1904, that particular book. And finally, a wee story from Conrad Black saying Ford invoking the notwithstanding clause was what Canada needed. And then on to Electric Scotland, we've got Clanlezy Society International. Got up their September 2018 newsletter. And then the Naval and Military History of the Wars of England, including the Wars of Scotland and Ireland, in which is given an accurate and lively description of the sieges, battles, bombardments, sea engagements, expeditions and extensive conquests of the British arms in all quarters of the globe, with a variety of interesting and extraordinary anecdotes of military skill and intrepidity, heroic adventures, brilliant exploits, martial achievements and memorable actions of the British warriors, calculated to inspire the rising generation with magnanimity and virtue, and to impress on their minds the generous ardour and noble emulator of their ancestors. And it's in 8 volumes. And unfortunately, while it's brilliant, it's the one of these books where, because of the date, it's substituted the letter S for the letter F, which makes it a little challenging to read. But as I say, as you read it, you kind of get used to it. So while the first few pages might struggle a wee bit, I think you'll quickly get used to it. But really some fabulous information in that, and a heck of a lot of reading. As is in the next one, which is Tait's Edinburgh Magazine. I added an article about Tait's Edinburgh Magazine and also added links to the first 10 volumes. I mean, there's just a huge amount to read in Tait's Edinburgh Magazine, all kinds of articles, you know. It's a bit like I suppose, I mean, it's just a really good magazine with tons to read. And then Best Newfangled Family Tree, we got in the October section B issue, which you can read. But also I found that when I put that up, I didn't have the September issue section 1, which I got in contact with Beth and she sent me a copy, and that's now up on the site as well. So I've given a specific link to that specific issue. Then I've got another one, which is an old New Zealander, Ta Ruapara, the Napoleon of the South. It's by T. Lindsay Buick in 1911. And then I just give you a bit of an overview of the postcards program and the work I've been doing in our community. And the story I got this week came from a weekly article I get in. It's how is Canada different to England was the question, and the chap that replied is in fact English, but he came to Canada many years ago, and he's just giving you a bit of a resume on what he thinks, how Canada is different from England. And I just thought it was an interesting wee story, and I thought you might like to read it. So that's what I put up. It's by Robert Vinton, who lives in Toronto. So there you go. That's what you can see in the newsletter, and as always, I'll put a link to the PDF version under this video, and I hope you'll take time to read it. And as I say, the printer-friendly button does work on the site, but it's not working on every page, and I think it's because I can't propagate that to every page. That's a bit of an issue, and I've still got to get it working on Electric Canada, but I was focusing on Electric Scotland first. But once we've got it working properly, I'll get it over to Electric Canadian. And as I say, the only other issue I've got left is getting the mailing list to mail out. So I say hopefully that will be done this next week. Okay, so there you go. that's us up to date, and I must confess, I do think we're in a much better place now than we were when Steve was hosting us, because at least the For Good Hosting Company in Vancouver are really being very proactive and working on things. Okay, well, anyway, there we go, and as always, feel free to comment. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye, have a good weekend.